The history of pirating is almost as old as the history of maritime trade. From the pirates of classical antiquity, ravaging the Aegean, to the present-day Somali pirates, terrorizing the sea off the Horn of Africa, pirating has left a looming horror to all who choose to sail the high seas. No pirates throughout history, however, can rival the infamy achieved by the Barbary pirates. The Barbary pirates originate from the Barbary states, a coalition of Islamic provinces off the coast of North Africa consisting of modern-day Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. For about 300 years, starting around the 16th century, the Barbary pirates wreaked havoc on the Mediterranean. The pirates, having an ever-present hatred towards Christian Europeans, not only looted vessels from their cargo, but also often took the crew members and either sold them into slavery or brutally tortured them until some sort of ransom or deal was made to free them. They even went as far as attacking coastal cities as far up as Ireland, killing off entire villages and towns. Many nations, especially in Europe, did not launch full-scale invasions or attacks against the pirates to stop them. Instead, they chose to try to negotiate treaties with the pirates and pay regular tributes in order to keep their ships safe. Shortly after the U.S. had achieved their independence and signed the Treaty of Paris, the pirates began to attack American shipping, the first being seized by Moroccans in October 1784. Oblivious to dealing with the pirates, the U.S., like other European nations, decided to negotiate with them. They successfully agreed on a treaty with Morocco in June 1786. However, diplomatic actions with the other Barbary states would not prove to be as successful as Morocco. That same year, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson went to London to try to negotiate with the Tripolitan ambassador. The diplomats asked the ambassador why the pirates kept attacking them, even though the U.S. had never bothered the pirates previously. The ambassador responded by justifying the attacks by quoting the Quran and saying that it was the Muslims' duty to plunder and enslave all those who did not follow and acknowledge the Prophet Muhammad. Tensions would continue to rise between the U.S. and the Barbary states. In 1795, Algeria agreed to release 115 captured U.S. sailors at a price of $1 million, 1/6 of the entire U.S. budget at the time, and were demanding future tributes in order to prevent piracy against the U.S. ships. Although the U.S. gave in and agreed to pay the ransom and tribute, they created the U.S. Department of the Navy in 1798 in order to prevent these pirate attacks. The tides would be turned, however, when in 1801 Thomas Jefferson was elected president. Tripoli demanded $250,000 as tribute from the new administration. Unsurprisingly, Jefferson refused to pay. Thus, on May 10, 1801, Tripoli declared war on the U.S., beginning the First Barbary War. With the majority of Europe dealing with Napoleon, only Sweden would help fight in the war, as they had already been at war with the Barbary states a year earlier. Jefferson ordered Commodore Richard Dale, whose small squadron had already been in Tripoli before the war, to launch a naval blockade against Tripoli. Dale and his squadron joined their Swedish allies in gunning down their foes' ships. On August 1, 1801, the USS Enterprise came into contact with a massive 14-gun Tripolitan warship named the Tripoli. The two ships fired at each other, with the U.S. landing massive blows. As the Tripoli pirates attempted to board the Enterprise, the Marines were successfully able to hold them back and eventually claim victory over the menacing warship without losing a single life. Sweden soon pulled out of the war as they reached an agreement with Tripoli. The U.S. was left to fend for herself. Over the next couple of years, both sides would fight a series of inconclusive battles. The turning point of the war would begin in 1804. Ex-consul to Tunis and former army captain William E. Eaton was granted permission by the U.S. government to back Hamid Karamanli to his claim to the Tripolitan throne. Eaton consequently decided to launch a daring plan. He would march all the way from Egypt to Tripoli along the coast of North Africa, capturing port cities such as Dern and Benghazi along the way in order to put Hamid back in power. Eaton, however, was only given a handful of Marines and ships to aid him and was told to use mercenaries to further help him. After grueling weeks of marching across the Sahara, Eaton finally reached Dern in late April. Eaton would launch a two-pronged attack where his army would attack the city head-on and his Muslim mercenaries, led by Hamid, would swing around the city to prevent reinforcements from arriving or retreat. Eaton and his men would initially struggle under heavy fire, but Eaton, wanting to gain initiative, bravely ordered a charge where he would be shot in the wrist. Dern's defenders quickly fled, where they would meet Hamid and be shot down. The battle was a huge success, and it would be the first time the U.S. raised her flag over a foreign nation. In commemoration to the battle, the Marines' hymn would adopt that famous line, "In the shores of Tripoli." Eaton was eager to move onwards in his offensive, but unfortunately before that could happen, the U.S. and Tripoli signed a treaty on June 10, 1805, effectively ending the war. Eaton was outraged by this decision. He strongly believed he could have easily captured both Benghazi and Tripoli and given the U.S. ultimate victory. Ironically, as a result of the treaty, the U.S. still had to pay ransom to free their prisoners, and since the pirates were not explicitly told to end attacks on U.S. ships, piracy resumed in 1807. The U.S. was now unable to deal with the pirates, as the War of 1812 reverted all military attention towards protecting the U.S. homeland against British attacks. Although the victory of the First Barbary War didn't actually pan out as intended, it showed to the world the U.S. was a respectable military power who could fight its own wars abroad. As the U.S. settled its war against Britain in 1815, it turned its attention back to the pirates. The U.S. government under James Madison declared war on Algiers and sent in a Navy squadron to the Mediterranean. Under the command of former war hero Stephen Decatur, the U.S. was easily able to defeat the Barbary ships. As Decatur went from city to city along the Barbary coast, he was able to orchestrate a series of treaties. But once he reached Algiers, the leader initially accepted the treaty, but then rescinded it, causing a minor confrontation. The U.S. would finally reach a treaty with Algiers on December 23, 1815, after sending another squadron and laying siege to Algiers with the help of the British and the Dutch. The treaty released all American prisoners and guaranteed the U.S. full rights within the Mediterranean. It wouldn't be until 1830, when the French spread their colonial empires in North Africa, that the Barbary pirates' reign would officially come to an end. The Barbary Wars are often called the Forgotten Wars, and when comparing it to other U.S. engagements, it's easy to see why. But it's important to realize, however, that the Barbary Wars had a profound effect in shaping the way the U.S. went about dealing with other wars and foreign affairs, through the use of their superior navy, which after all wouldn't have been what it was or currently is without the involvement in the Barbary Wars.